All right, you have made it to the end of day one. This is the final session. I am really excited for you guys to join us for the announcements, the product deep dives, and the messaging around the Java platform that we've had today. As Mark and I kicked off the day, one of the big pieces that we talked about in our session were at a high level, the 6 reasons why Liberty is a phenomenal platform for everything related to Java development. We're going to now go into that deeper dive of those 6 reasons and then some. We've got Mac and Emily today that will dive deep into that. Please feel free to keep those hard questions coming, post them in the chat. Also, immediately following this session, we will have our office hours where many of the speakers throughout the day will be available just to take your questions live and in real-time conversational style. So please feel free to join us as soon as this session's done. Also, just as an FYI, there's going to be a poll in the middle of this, so keep an eye out for just a quick question that we may post to you guys as our valuable customers. And without further ado, Mac, I will turn it over to you to dive into the reasons why Liberty is so awesome.
Thanks, Andy. Great to be here, and hope you all had a great St. Patrick's Day yesterday. I know I did. So I'm based in Ireland, and I'm the product manager for Liberty, and joined here by Emily Jiang, our architect. Hi, Emily.
Hello.
So today we're going to take you through 6 reasons Liberty leads the way for Java applications. So Liberty is a runtime for enterprise Java applications, as most of you probably know at this stage. It's been designed with security and performance considerations to the fore, so it's ideal for running mission critical and high availability applications. We typically have a lot of customers in the government space, banking, and a lot of very business critical, mission critical situations. Liberty is a great destination for all runtimes, but it's particularly a good destination if you're an existing WebSphere traditional customer. The migration paths and the tooling to support that journey just make it a bit of a no-brainer if you're going from an existing traditional runtime to Liberty to modernize. So one of our clients in Germany has given us a really good reference. It's Finance Informatik, and I just wanted to share this with you because sometimes we are asked this question, has anybody deployed Liberty at scale? So we want to address that right from the outset. So this customer has deployed 60,000 instances of Liberty in production and running a very large financial institution business across Europe, and a very happy customer. So I just wanted to jump onto that. Hopefully addresses any concerns my people have. Liberty is a very mature product, heavily invested in by IBM, and with significant adoption across every country in the world. So I just want to talk about Liberty's origin story, because to understand where Liberty has come from, it's important to know the history. So the WebSphere application server, as many of you may be familiar, was originally created in 1998. And as this diagram shows, the world has evolved, in many different ways over the intervening 27 years. We've had infrastructure changes going from on-prem to VMs to cloud and containers. We've had application development methodologies such as waterfall, Scrum, and Agile, and everything in between. A lot of innovation at the moment, but you can see in 2012, Liberty was introduced by IBM to bring really modern service-oriented architecture approach. And then 5 years later, Open Liberty was also introduced to add an open source dimension to the product. So as you can see, WebSphere Liberty is a direct successor to WebSphere Application Server. And I just wanted to kind of touch on that before we get into all the detail. And we have designed and invested in Liberty so that it would be the destination of choice and the go forward for all of our clients as they look for a modern runtime to support their needs over the next 10 to 15 years. Great. So before we get started on our details about 6 reasons Liberty leads the way for applications, we just wanted to get you guys to answer a short, simple poll to find out how many of you might be using Liberty at the moment, whether that's just starting out with 1 or 2 applications or already well down your path. So we're going to fire up the poll and you could give your answers. We'll give you a second to have a look at that. So for the first topic, Emily is going to cover this. Reason number 1, just enough runtime. So over to you, Emily.
Thank you, Mark. Hey, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm Emily Jiang. I'm the cloud native architect for Liberty. I work pretty much most of the time on open source, like the APIs, like Jakarta EE, MicroProfile, and also Open Liberty. So it's I will basically touch base on the technical aspect on Liberty and also talk a little bit about the standard, etc. The first reason, like for Liberty, is just enough runtime. If you have experience about traditional WebSphere, so if you need deploy your application to traditional WebSphere, basically you will have a bigger house. No matter whether your application need all the capabilities or not, but you will have the bigger house. However, for Liberty, it's pretty much Lego basically pieces, and then it can the form itself. If you just need, for example, the RESTful web services, you only need to specify RESTful web services, and automatically the runtime is support this feature automatically loaded into your basically the runtime into the memory and etc. So in this case, you have a really just enough just enough pieces enabled to support your application. So this will save the memory and also the kind of the CPU usage as well. Next, please. And then this is the kind of the I mentioned earlier the open source standard MicroProfile Jakarta EE. In the previous page, you can see the RESTful web services. That was like a Jakarta RESTful web services. So it's the Liberty is the kind of the fully open source and also support the open source standard MicroProfile Jakarta EE. So it's the kind of promote this standard and focus more, and then we collaborate more in the open source standard under Eclipse Foundation rather than we create our own version of the APIs and etc. Next, please. So it's for this kind of the just enough kind of the runtime, and also it kind of works in both like a development stage and plus the deployment stage. For the normal for your kind of developer experiences, we have a Maven Gradle plugin to help you basically trim down your kind of the runtime by specify a particular version. Actually, after you finish the development, by the time you're trying to containerize it, and you can create basically the Docker file. In this, on the right hand side, that's the Docker file. So you can have the kind of base image. In this case, base image, you can do a Slim. Basically, choose this Slim and also particular Java version, and then we will run feature.sh. So basically, just load give you the enough the feature to support your application, and then eventually we run the config.sh. So further optimization. So this is the kind of the Liberty not only is basically doing this not just require you to create a Docker file, it also supports source to image. So you don't, in that case, you don't even need to create a Docker file. Next, please.
Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the lower operating costs, the second reason how Liberty leads the way. So in terms of performance, Liberty beats the competition across almost all of the key parameters. For example, in response times, particularly when instant on is used. We'll show you some charts in a minute to illustrate the point. Memory footprint is significantly smaller, our disk footprint, and also the ability to put throughput and memory usage is very significant. So we're going to walk through some of those stats. I'm going to give you an example or a testimony from one customer, South Carolina, who talks about using 50% fewer resources to do the same amount of work. So that translates then into cost savings year in, year out. It means a significantly lower bill, whether it's on-prem hosted, public cloud, private cloud. It's going to result in thousands, if not millions of dollars, depending on your scale, every year of savings. So Emily, you might talk to some of these benchmarks we have.
Yeah, so we have our own basically is performance team, and very actively kind of monitor the Liberty performance. And for monitoring Liberty performance, we not only compare with basically different runtimes, and we also compare with our different releases, because we need to make sure we do not basically regress our performance when we release the newer Liberty. As you can see here, our performance, we have this monitor 3 categories. So the first response, and basically is also the memory footprint, and plus the throughput. As you can see, as we're making more progress, the for Liberty itself is getting better and better. And later on, I will talk more about instant on, the new Liberty feature. So basically that feature make your application start up is basically a boost is significantly. As you can see in the first the top row, you can see 7%. The lower the better. It's the first response is immediately, almost immediately you get a response. And then as you can also see, we compared the Liberty with Wildfly, JBoss AEP, and Piara. Liberty outperformed all the different basically it's alternative runtimes across the different categories. Next, please. This as you know, I think is basically there's a few different type of applications. One is the kind of application uses the standard like Java EE, Jakarta EE, microprofile. This is kind of cross-board, is a standard APIs. The other type of application is basically use Spring Boot and use a Spring framework. So use the Spring APIs. If you basically have Spring Boot applications, and for Spring Boot application, you might use deploy to Tomcat as a servlet container. If you use that, basically use Tomcat, and I highly recommend you to try out Liberty. So switch off Tomcat and deploy your Spring Boot application to Liberty, because so for the Tomcat versus Liberty with the exactly same Spring Boot application, we did a comparison. So the throughput, so Liberty a lot higher, and however, it uses half of the memory. So this is basically your performance boost was very, very visible. So it's a place to do a kind of experiment to directly deploy your Spring Boot application to Liberty and try it out yourself. Next, please.
Sure. So now we have some stats for the comparison of Open Liberty versus Open Liberty with instant on enabled, Emily?
Yes. So is a kind of I mentioned earlier. So basically, instant on feature is why it's called instant on. So means is your application start within some millisecond. So it's instantly will start. As you can see, we did a comparison. The startup with the Open Liberty without instant on enabled, it start in 5 seconds. Now it start with instant on feature. It's starting 141 milliseconds, as you can see. And then also the first response previously 6 seconds, now it's 681 milliseconds. So you can see that how kind of much boost it has done with the instant on. But later on, you might be interested with this instant on, and later on I will dive into the full details on how instant on works.
Yeah, that's right. So for item number 6, if you guys hang around, you'll get a deep dive on instant on and how that really plays well in container cloud environments. So our next topic is number 3, continuous delivery. So you can use Liberty to achieve a modern DevOps experience for your teams, regardless of whether you're using traditional or cloud native. This will really help with your automation strategy, getting those pipelines up and running, continuous delivery, continuous deployment. It's essential for streamlining modern development and deployment operations. So you can see the classic plan, code, build, test, release cycle here that we're all familiar with. So how does Liberty help? So Liberty is delivered as a continuous release model from IBM. So every 4 weeks, there is a new version available both on WebSphere Liberty and Open Liberty for customers to download, update. It's released through Maven and Docker Hub, and will include typically releases for previous GA releases and security iFixes for the last 6 releases are supported. So this is a really good way to consume your software and stay up to date. It's easy, it can be automated, there's great tooling available. Just to explain the deployment model a little further and the support options, we name our versions each month. So 25001 is the January release, and every month consistently Liberty delivers a new release. Now every third release, the 03, 06, 09, and 012, you can see at the top, these have extended support. So you can see on the table at the bottom of the chart, there's 2 years of iFixes provided compared with 24 weeks for the in-between releases. So that's an extra consideration. So a lot of our customers will run these releases in production, the 6, 9, 12 versions, to take advantage of that support. So that's our continuous delivery. Let's talk about zero migration, reason number 4.
Yeah, zero migration is one of the unique features offered by Liberty. You cannot see any zero migration provided by some other runtimes. So what is a zero migration? Zero migration means actually your application can stay working in any kind of future Liberty releases. We are really seriously about zero migration. So which means we do not remove things from the kind of the Liberty releases. Do not release the kind of the features you rely on from the Liberty release. Later on, I will just explain the full details. And also the zero migration means you don't need to change your application. So when you move up to, for example, 2503 or 2504, your application don't need to change. It should automatically work in the 2504, 2506. So no migrations, kind of the concerns. And also you can skip, like if it's right now you are on the 2409, you don't need to go to 24010, 24012. you can directly go to like 2501 without any problem. So you can skip the any releases. So it's basically this is kind of pretty much you can utilize and with the Liberty performance boost because you can use all the kind of latest runtime and etc. And also the any kind of the needed performance like security fixes and etc. So this is the great like the feature, and also is kind of the last year is one of the kind of non-Liberty customers, and they basically told me is suddenly they realized they have a huge migration concern because they need to move up to a different version. So what did you do with the Liberty kind of migration? I said we have this zero migration. He said, wow, that's awesome. So this is great. So please, I mean, do utilize this zero migration and frequently move up to the latest Liberty drivers. Next, please.
Thanks, Emily. And that is definitely one of our customers' favorite features and one of our wow features of Liberty.
Yeah, so this is what I mean. We do not remove like features. This is kind of the for the micro profile. As you can see, there's many releases. We do not delete this any features in the kind of the current Open Liberty releases. And also you can see we support Java EE like 6, 7, 8 and Jakarta EE 8, 9. And also is the Jakarta EE 10. And right now we are working towards the Jakarta EE 11. You can get all the ticks with Liberty and also different like a Java SE support. Like for the Java SE 8, and then the kind of can support like Jakarta EE 8 and like also is the Java SE 21. You could also support Jakarta, basically all the kind of Jakarta EE technologies and etc. We went extra miles, make sure it got a broad coverage and etc. However, if you use the Tommy Tribe, you have a like a big headache to do the migration, and also you have to force you to move up to the latest Java like SE. And especially if you have other top priority tasks, and you however you couldn't achieve that task without first fix your Java SE version first. And the other things like WebLogic only support Java E8 and Jakarta E8 these features. As you can see, Liberty follow really closely with the open source standard, and also it carry all these kind of the existing features for you. So that's what kind of that is why we could achieve zero migration, because it's no removals. Next, please.
Thanks, Emily. Yeah, I think we want to substantiate the pain point here, because this is a significant challenge for people who are using other runtimes, the constant effort to migrate. What do you tend to see, Emily, talking to customers, the kind of pain points they have here with these Tomcat, Spring Boot, etc.?
Yeah, so especially like for this for Tomcat and Spring Boot, this is a migration. As you can see here, Tomcat 10.1. Let me just take like the because one thing they have end of service support. You have to move up. You have to move up afterwards. Is you won't get support. This is one thing. That's why you go to do the migration. The other thing is, for example, the servlet. If you want to move up to servlet 6, you do not have a choice. And if you are currently on the Tomcat 8.1, you got to jump to the Tomcat 10.1, and then doing all the different, not only upgrade your Java SE version from like also basically it's also like API migration as well. As you can see, all the different moving parts, and then not only one feature. Once you move to Tomcat 10.1 is not only servlet 6 you need to worry about, also need to worry about JSP 3.1, Yale, and all the kind of once you start one thing, basically spider web effect. So it's basically very soon it's all entangled. So you have a bigger headache to do this migration. This is for Tomcat. And also the Spring Boot, this is basically even the minor version upgrade sometimes run into breaking changes because it's a kind of this is kind of the Spring Boot is on its own is basically they haven't covered all the different scenarios your application covered. So it's sometimes the documentation may not be kind of thorough enough. And then you will hit some like a dark corner. So you'll be on your own and then you have to go through all these kind of the small step migration. Eventually you come to the basically the Spring Boot 3 from Spring Boot 2.x. If you Google it, and then there's a lot of questions about Spring Boot 2.x migrated to Spring Boot 3. The other things added to the complex is the Spring Boot also, the Spring framework, also the Spring APIs, also use the Jakarta technologies. Not only the Spring APIs you got to worry about, and together you got a Jakarta migration to worry about as well. So all in all, migration is a bigger headache.
Yeah, it doesn't go away. Yeah, it's a constant and unexpected, I guess, problem that arises. So I just want to bring up this chart, which kind of illustrates an example, Emily, of how a journey might happen for different categories of applications that a customer might have. Do you want to talk about how these different journeys would play out?
Yeah.
For Liberty.
So yeah, exactly. So as you know, like there's two major different type of the applications. One is the monolith, one is the microservices. For monolith, pretty much probably you had the application created maybe it's 10 years ago, and then it's kind of working. Everything works well. You don't really need to do much things with it. With that, basically, you don't need to really, maybe there's a kind of skills, understand that monolith no longer exists, and then it runs, it works. So it's in this case, and then you just keep this like a small moving application, and then you can feel free to basically use the latest Liberty driver. In the past, it's deployed to 2209, a bottom row, and now you can move to 2306, and then later on you can move to 2502. So that's basically we guarantee it will work. So this is why it's kind of zero migration. And also for the fast moving kind of monoliths, and then later on you could say, okay, I need to update my application bit. For example, okay, I need to add basically the migrate microprofile 4.1 to microprofile 6 at this time, and then you kind of like later on you can just do the feature update. And then similarly for the microservices, if that application doesn't need to change, you do not need to go through the migration path. You can directly move like the runtime Liberty, like older Liberty to the new Liberty, and your application will continue to work. And then similarly for the fast moving microservices, basically you keep on adding new functionalities, and then you deploy to the cloud, and then you want to utilize some Kubernetes features, you want to adopt microprofile technologies, and then you can move like microprofile version from 5 to 6. Also Jakarta technologies can move, and also you could utilize the new Java features like Java 17 features, like virtual thread and etc. And then at that time you can move to new Java features. Liberty runs basically the 2303. It support like 11, 17, 8, basically that has all the capabilities offer available to you. So that's cater for your business demand. Next, please.
Thanks, Emily. So the next section is going to be talking about developer experience, but thanks for sticking with us through the zero migration. We dug a bit deeper there, and we will cover now the tooling in terms of developer tools with Emily, and then we'll jump into some more detail on things like Instant On and Kubernetes in the section number 6, optimized for hybrid cloud. So in terms of developer experience, Emily, I'm going to let you take this one. You're definitely qualified to talk about developer experience.
Yeah, I'm a Java developer. I would like to write code every day, at least touch some code base. So I'm very keen and with the developer tools. So basically, my entry point is like your IDE. So my favorite IDE is VS Code. So basically, I want to do most of the things, and from the IDE, I want to basically the Liberty provide some help for you. So to get started, obviously, I need to plan things out and read code and build, and then also I read my test and I read my unit test, I read an integration test, I read my container test. I need the help from all different kinds. And then I can containerize my application, and then I write basically deployment YAML file, I deploy it, I write it, and also I can basically link with Grafana dashboard. I can monitor my application, and then I can go through the whole circle again. So this is kind of why it's so awesome to be a developer, is you can do everything. Basically, have a full kind of circle, and then they make you think, and then kind of rework and improve. Next, please. So it's to getting started. For example, if you are like a Java developer, you want to create a brand new application, and if you know Spring, you have a Spring Starter. In Open Liberty, we also have an Open Liberty Starter, like a start.openliberty.io. It creates basically the structure for you, and then you can start writing your code. And we have a demo mode, and later on we talk more about demo mode, which means you can type and you can see the effect straight away. And also you can build and you can run. Basically, it's a containerization. We have a cloud native build pack, source to image, and you can write your Docker file. And we have a Maven Gradle plugin to directly build your application. And then you can write like a unit test, integration test, and also the container test. And then also, it's kind of as a developer, you have to debug problems. Also, we have a whole code replace to help you to do the debug. It does not work if it doesn't help you to fix a problem, right? Once there's a problem and you don't know how to fix it, that's not the case. So we have all the tools support you from the start to finish. Next, please. So this is the kind of a Liberty Maven plugin that you can put in a POM XML. As you can see here, like all you can specify is io.openliberty.tools and also a Liberty Maven plugin. When you use start.openliberty.io, this plugin automatically created for you in the POM XML. Next, please. This is the dev mode. So basically, it's demonstrate, and when you basically it's create an application, and then your Liberty running in the background, and then you add a class, and you can see the changes straight away. As you can see here, you can see the JSON. And if something goes wrong, most of the time, I like things goes wrong, and then I fix it, and then I feel a big kind of some challenge has been fixed for you, or I have a kind of the self-recognition kind of thing. So this is great. You can see the problem, fix the problem, and also it can help you to do basically create the server XML as well. It's not only basically running in the standalone mode, Also, it can run in a container. You can do on the left-hand corner, you can do Maven Liberty :devc. So that will be running container as well. Next, please. So this is kind of the earlier I talked about Maven plugin. So you can specify in the POM and help you to do the build. And then you can just in the command, you do a Maven Liberty dev. You can see basically the start dev mode and do that. At the same time, and on the Eclipse, on the IDE, VS Code or Eclipse or IntelliJ, also we have this plugin called Liberty Tools. And if you have not used it, please search Liberty Tools and directly basically get that installed in your IDE. Once you have this, you can see basically the Liberty dashboard. And with that dashboard on the left hand top right corner, you can start. When you click start, that will automatically run your application in the dev mode. You can code along and you can see the changes straight away. So it's and also with the Liberty Tools and help you to do the code completion as well. You can see it also can highlight some indicate some changes you got to work on, and also it can help you to run the test and etc. Next, please. So it's this is again basically the image to show once you have Liberty basically dev mode installed. As you can see here, on the left hand side is at guide-docker and right click start. So that's when we'll start from the basically the demo mode, start demo mode. And then also on the top, you can basically see the you can type along to see the Liberty can see the micro profile, generate the micro profile REST client, this capability as well. So with that, also you could run the test as well with this like Liberty Tools. Next, please.
Okay, so next is our section number 6, where we jump into cloud and containers. So again, thanks everyone who's stuck on to this point in the presentation. We're doing good on time, so we should be able to address some questions, and we'll also talk about some of our modernization tools before we get to the end. So in terms of being optimized for hybrid cloud, Liberty really does perform very well in container-based environments. It's designed to work with technologies such as Kubernetes, OpenShift, etc. So Emily's going to take us through some of the details around that now.
Yeah, so most of the customer have been interacted with, so they are pretty much adopt a hybrid cloud kind of this infrastructure. They deploy some of their applications on-prem, on the private cloud, and then some like application on the public cloud. So one thing is kind of I want to emphasize, Liberty works great on basically this hybrid cloud, either on-prem or public cloud. And then you can even see Liberty like on the popular public cloud, Azure, AWS, Google Cloud. And then you could even basically bring your own license, and then you can basically get Liberty from that marketplace as well. So we worked, we collaborate very closely with the business partners like AWS, Microsoft, and Google, and etc. So it's basically in this diagram on the right hand side, it shows basically it's, you can get a Liberty on the AWS EKS and also Azure and like a Red Hat OpenShift, and also the AKS as well, Azure Kubernetes Service as well. So next, sure. Please.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we do see some of our largest customers, deploying this in the private cloud or on-prem using tools like Red Hat OpenShift deployed in-house. So you've got that choice, or some customers obviously using VMs and other deployment models. So next, over to you, Emily, again.
Yeah, so it's a kind of up to now we talk about how easily to get started with Liberty, and then we put our developers' needs first, and also we also cater for the kind of DevOps engineers' needs as well. So it's Liberty is built with Kubernetes optimized this vision. So it's Liberty, another very unique thing with Liberty is Liberty's thread pool auto-tuning kind of capability. You do not need to tune your thread pool. It's automatically kind of is use kind of the you use its own kind of the brain to automatically tune your thread pool and then resize the thread pool for your basically transactions and etc. As you can see, very soon it learn from the past, from the workload, and eventually it tune your thread pool and then create the just enough size thread pool for you. And also we have the Open Liberty operators, and also we have like all the APIs and from macro profile and work very closely, nicely with the Kubernetes environment. Next, please. So this is the kind of the what I mentioned earlier about this is the Docker file. So we have the IBM Container Registry to host Liberty's Docker image. And then is the first part. Second part, basically, can you click again, please? Second part basically is that's kind of the almost like the tag is a tag. It tell you like which Java, what kind of image. So in this case, it's kind of Java 17 OpenG9 universal kind of the image. So this is kind of the tag, and it's very important. You use the kernel's name and basically start from a very small base image, and then you can add the features you need. Basically, it's just enough features for you, and then you basically add the config.sh. So basically, it's create some cache for you. So this is optimized execution. Next, please. And with that, basically, with that Docker file, you can create a Docker image for your application, basically packaged with Liberty runtime. However, if you want to deploy to Kubernetes, there's a huge learning curve for you to learn the Kubernetes YAML file. Like you have to create basically the different types, like the image and also the instances and etc. And all the different basically deploy, scale, and upgrade and dump. And you got to write sometimes over 100 lines YAML file. And not many people like to be a YAML developer because all the space matters. So with that, because the YAML is a huge step learning curve, so with that, Kubernetes is the first deployment kind of the task is a huge task. People don't want to basically do that task because it's too difficult. So which is why we have this Liberty operator available to you. Our Liberty operator, it has two WebSphere Liberty operator and also Open Liberty operator. This is all the level 5, the highest levels operator. So which means it has all of the capability required by this operator. So as you can see here, API version, you just say websphere.ibm.com/1. The kind is very important. This is the one is the WebSphere Liberty application. For Open Liberty will be an Open Liberty application. As you can see, the licenses can be really nicely managed, can accept addition product entitlement source and the metrics and etc. Replicas means how many instances of this image you need. For example, this is over like a heavy load and etc. You might want to basically create more instances, and also application manage image, which is your Docker file. So basically your Docker image. So this Docker image was created by the previous page, that Docker file, and you can see the specified pull policy is always a pull, and expose a port is basically true. Otherwise, it will be hidden. And also you can specify storage and also mount path for the basically the directly physical path. So this is the kind of the deployment. So it's, as you can see, just a few lines, and to do the basically Kubernetes deployment, I don't need to learn much about a YAML file, and then directly I can read this. And then pretty much I can copy and paste. The only change I need most of the time is about application image. Next, please. So this is kind of the end-to-end scenario about from the start to the deploy to the cloud. So it's when you first start, like you in your IDE, you code up, and then you kind of containerize it. You either like use the Docker file or build basically the source to image, and you create your application image. And then after you have this image, you will directly create that deployment YAML file using basically the Liberty operator. So here, the Liberty operator basically pointed to this is kind of the 9 capabilities. So it's the Liberty operator offer all these kind of the capabilities. And then you do not need to worry about any of them. You got this basically the capability auto box from the Liberty operator. And then basically you could either use the WebSphere application or Open Liberty application, is all kind of behave the same. And then it's very, very important, we also offer day 2 operation. So basically it will also have the customer resource to monitor this day 2 operation. Will be described more in the next slides. So this is the day 2 operation. So day 2 operation, basically you want to monitor this application, right? It's my job as a Java developer does not stop once I basically release my application. I have a continuous business need, and also I need also monitor my application. So how fast my application can serve the request, and what about the health? So this is kind of very important to monitor health, because if you deploy to Kubernetes, if this port is not respond, Kubernetes directly kill it and start a new one. So which is why is kind of the day 2 operations is so important. If you do not take into consideration this Kubernetes capability about killing the port and start a new one, is basically even though your application running in the cloud, you don't take advantage of any kind of the flexibility or Kubernetes capability. Make sure your application can respond all the time to your customer request. So this is a health. We use the macro profile health directly. It's work together with Kubernetes health. Kubernetes basically is like a Lebanese prod, and also it's kind of the readiness probe, and also startup probe, and etc. And also it can trace your kind of application. If something goes wrong, and you will be able to see exactly which part is going wrong, and you can basically do a fix, or kind of if something under load, you can see responded really slowly, as you can pin down the which part is kind of bottleneck. You can scale it up. So basically, you make your application basically it's become very kind of much 24/7, and then respond to the customer need. If there's a kind of heavy load, automatically you can see pretty much from metrics. You can auto scale it. If something goes wrong, going to be goes wrong, and then you can basically take a precaution, and then you won't get a crash because you can see a warning light straight away from the dashboard. And then for other things, if something goes wrong, and you can see it from the log, and then pin down exactly what time, which minute, which second, millisecond goes wrong. You can see all these kind of logs and metrics and tracing and also other stats, and help you with the data operation. Next, please.
Thanks, Emily. Yeah, we have a couple more slides to get through quickly, and then we're going to take a second to, if we have any questions, and some slides for anyone for next steps. So we'll just quickly touch on Instant On, which you talked about earlier, and go for it. Thanks.
Yeah, so the Instant On, one big thing is if you have know about native image. Native image is basically compile application into a machine code. So basically, you even though you write Java, however, you don't have a JVM in the background anymore. With that, actually, you lose some kind of the instrumentation of these kind of capabilities, and also auto scale. Basically, also the warm up and then boost up your performance and etc. However, with Instant On, so why is we said Instant On without compromise? You still have your Java, you still have a JVM. However, you can achieve bigger boost, like 10 to 18 times faster. Is ideal for serverless. So our Liberty serverless delivery is over Instant On and without any compromise. And it's very simple. And in your Docker file, you just need to write that bottom line run checkpoint is either before app start or after app start. Obviously, after app start, you get kind of faster even. And then on the top, you can see we did a comparison. Like some applications start with 1 second, now it's 129 milliseconds. As you can see, huge performance boost there. Next, please. So for like a Spring Boot application, early on we said basically is you get half of the memory size RAM for if you deploy to like a Liberty. If you run in the container for Spring Boot application, so basically normally they are quite big. If you change one line and then you push the Docker image and also is quite huge, like 37 megabyte. However, with if you deploy to Liberty and we layered it up, we know the Spring Labs and other labs, they don't change. Only application change. Also, the runtime do not change. Liberty do not change. We layered it up. So in this case, in the interim, like CI/CD, and you only need to push this top layer. So it's very fast. Next, please. And then with Spring Boot, we also support Instant On. All you need to do is basically you just when you build your Docker file, just say okay. Basically, you use like that file in switch on the after or before like app start. It works. Spring Boot and Instant On work together nicely. And then in order to run your Spring Boot on Liberty in the future, you just say Spring Boot 3.0 if you want 3.0, and then normally you use this servlet from Open Liberty to be able to run the Spring Boot app. Next, please. So this is another performance boost of a small cloud compiler. If you know JVM, normally you also know just-in-time compiler, so which is basically a performance boost. And as you can see, use JIT, and because it needs compile code and etc. And sometimes you got a spike, so it's like memory or CPU spike, and then it's sometimes you got auto memory issue. Or if you are on Kubernetes, suddenly the Kubernetes think you are overload and give you more kind of the instance. Actually, that's not caused by the basically heavy load is caused by this JIT basically usage, because it also need to use the CPU or memory. So with basically Sumeru Cloud Compiler, so basically we stand up a new instance. Sumeru Cloud Compiler can do all this compilation, and then with that, your application don't need to use the additional RAM or CPU for this JIT operation. So as you can see on the top of the chart, is flat. Is no longer have these spikes. Next, please.
Thanks. So I think we've covered the 6 areas where Liberty leads the way. So from just enough runtime, lower cost, continuous delivery model, the zero migration killer feature, the great developer tooling, and then obviously the cloud readiness and container advantage. So we're just going to touch on maybe some ways to leave off on in a moment, but I don't know if we want to bring up any questions, guys, or if anything has come through there. But did you see anything in there, Emily? Or Andy?
I have not.
Okay. So one question we do get asked sometimes is, is Liberty only suitable for deploying through containers in the cloud? And I think hopefully we've addressed that, but we do have lots of customers who deploy Liberty using VMs, and even on bare metal, lots of different configurations are possible. We didn't get time to cover all of them today, but just want to make sure people are aware that Liberty is not just for the cloud. It can be deployed on-prem, it can be deployed in VMs, and it's very flexible. But to get the optimized benefits we just talked about does require container-based deployments. So some of the next steps you can look at will be, and these slides will be shared. So you can request a demo through the IBM website. You can get in touch with the IBM Expert Labs, and there's a link provided. You can download from Open Liberty. You don't need any entitlement to do that, or if you have entitlement through your Passport Advantage, you can go in there and download the tools and Sumeru and so on and install. And if you want to find out more about some of our offerings where Liberty is included, you can click on these links. So Enterprise Application Service for Java, which is our managed cloud service, and then the Enterprise Application Runtimes, which is a new offering which is just being launched. A couple of useful links there. I do want to mention the IBM Application Modernization Accelerator. So this is a brand new tool set. It's new in terms of adding on what we've done with Transformation Advisor and Monitor Micro, and it has a wonderful visualization tooling. So if you're interested in that, you can find out more on our website, and we can provide more information. It really does help people get up and running when they want to start moving towards Liberty and understanding what's involved. And as we said at the start, if you're on WebSphere Traditional, this will clearly demonstrate the value add, because the cost of migration from WebSphere Traditional to Liberty is so much lower than if you're going to any other runtime or from any other runtime, and just to keep that in mind. So if we don't have any questions, I just want to mention the Liberty CAD, which is you may have one question, do you?
Yeah, I have one question. So the question is, what's the role of Liberty operator? Does it deploy application? Does it also handle auto scaling? So Liberty operator is basically simplify the Kubernetes deployment. So basically, it's in order, and you don't need to write hundreds of line code for the deployment. You just use a few lines. Does it deploy application? It basically, when you deploy the application, you have to do a kube control apply. And then the deployment YAML file. In that deployment of a YAML file, you got to use the Liberty operator. So basically, what we in that slide, that's the kind of the deployment YAML file. But you need to kube control apply the minutes of if the deployment YAML file. Does it also handle auto scaling? So the Knative handles auto scaling, and actually it works really nicely together. So you need to basically get a Knative, and then together with like this deployment YAML file is everything handled for you.
Thanks, Emily. And if anyone wants to look at our customer advisory bureau board, you can scan this QR code. Over to you, Andy.
Thank you so much, Mac and Emily. And wow, what an action-packed day. Hopefully, you guys are absorbing what as I started the day, warned you was some very new and very informative content. Very exciting additions to the platform. So that wraps up the first day of sessions. Just a reminder, we'll have office hours that will open literally in the next 5 minutes. If there's any questions that you either had and posted or that have come up in between then and now, the office hours is a chance for you to come off of mute and actually have a conversation with several of our speakers throughout the day. So please come back and join us for the next 2 days. We'll be doing a lot more sessions tomorrow and Thursday. But for now, let's wrap up the day. And then, as I mentioned, I'll be opening up the app dev and runtime's office hours in 5 minutes. So thank you so much for your time. Hopefully it's been as fun for you as it has been for us. Thank you very much. Thanks again, Mac and Emily.
Thanks.
Thank you all.